What is up, my fellow adventurers? Now, I'm sure a lot of you out there are looking to buy your first pack to get you on the trails, or looking to upgrade your pack so you're more comfortable on the trails. And the three things I consider when I'm buying a new pack are comfort, weight, and size. Those are the three things you want to consider no matter what size of pack you're looking at, and I'm here to talk to you about that. So, let's talk about packs, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about packs. Get the ball rolling. Why don't we start with the smallest pack, which I would consider a day pack. Day packs are typically around the 20-liter mark, plus or minus 5 to 10 liters, something like that. And they're just for getting you out for the day on a quick hike, a few hours. But there's still some features you want to look for in a day pack. Personally, I like ones with a chest strap and a hip strap, even if it's a super simple one, no padding or anything like that. My favorite day pack I've ever owned is my bright and colorful Cotopaxi Luzon. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. But it's an 18 liter and it comes with a chest strap, which is adjustable. So you can set the height you want on it. It also comes with a very simple hip strap, and I like to keep it super simple with all my packs. I prefer just a big opening, like so. This one has a spot for a hydration pouch in it, and it rolls up pretty nicely, like so. And I've been known to throw that inside of a barrel on canoe trips or whatever and just pull it out if we're doing a quick day hike. All you really want is a quick change of clothes, some water, and some snacks, because everybody needs snacks. I love this pack because it's just super simple. It only has one little compartment on the outside, and the rest is basically just a big bag with an extra slot in the inside for your hydration pouch if you choose to do that. The pack is just super lightweight, and to me that's the key in a day pack, is just keep it simple and keep it lightweight. All you're really looking for is a chest strap and a hip strap in my mind, because you don't want the pack shifting around on your back as you're walking. You want to keep it fairly stable, and that's going to not stress your balance muscles not as much. I also have a 20-liter dry bag, and that's great if you're super worried about keeping your gear dry, because this pack really has no protection as far as keeping your stuff dry. It doesn't even have a lid on it. It's just a simple drawstring, so your stuff can still get wet. I mean, another strategy that I've used in the past is to just throw your rain jacket at the top of it and kind of roll it around your gear. I mean, it's definitely not 100%, but it does stop the majority of the rain from going in the pack and getting your stuff wet. But at the same time, you're probably going to want to wear your rain jacket if it's raining. So obviously there's going to be luxury items that some of us want to bring that others don't care about. And there's usually still room in a 20 liter, 25 liter, but vary that size a little bit depending on what you plan on doing with your pack. Another option for quick day hikes is just a fanny pack. Again, this is a Cotopaxi fanny pack. I love their stuff. This one is just big enough to hold an Nalgene, and that's kind of what sold me on it. My buddy actually bought one of these and brought it on a trip, and when he busted it out and put a full Nalgene in it and a couple snacks, I was sold. It's great if you're just going out for a quick hike. You don't need anything in your back because back sweat is no fun. So the fanny pack is just key for having a dry back if you just want to keep it super, super simple. Obviously no room for clothes and stuff, which I'd always recommend bringing a change of clothes. If you like to go ultra minimal like I do, then a fanny pack might be right for you. The next pack I want to talk about is the pack that started it all for me. This is way back in my glamping days. I used this simple little 35 liter skateboarding backpack, which goes to show you you don't need to have a specialty backpack just to get out there. You can start adventures with pretty much anything you have on hand. I'm sure most of us have a pack this size, and that's going to hold your clothes, your toothbrush. It has straps on it so you can mount your tent to the outside, which is actually how I started, just everything strapped to the outside of the pack, which isn't ideal, but it gives you options. This pack is a little bit more heavy on the pouches than I typically like. Typically I prefer just a big open sack with maybe one or two pouches. Hip pouches are nice for just holding your rain jacket so you can quickly pull it out, or your headlamp so you can quickly pull it out. This pack doesn't have hip strap or anything, but back in those days I wasn't going very far, so it wasn't a big concern to me. It does have a chest strap, but again, it's just a super simple little chest strap. Not a lot of adjustability or anything, but it got me out there, so I can't complain too much about it. Also has little pouches that would hold a small water bottle. You can't cram a Nalgene in there or anything very substantial, but hey, it did the trick. So if you're trying to get out there and you don't want to spend a lot of money, just use what you got. Even if you're carrying a couple things in your arm, just try and put most of the weight on your back to hike in. You're going to make out alright. Next size up is my 35-liter dry bag. And I love this bag. I wish Mech never stopped making it. It's the Raptor 35. They don't make it anymore, but it was a super lightweight and pretty comfortable dry bag. So you can see here, it has hip straps and a chest strap. The chest strap is adjustable. It's not super easy to adjust, but that's fine. Usually you just set it and forget it. The straps are very minimal in the padding and everything. It's a great pack for flat water paddling, or at least it was a great pack for flat water paddling. But it's also a super lightweight material. I'm pretty sure, other than my day pack and my fanny pack, this is by far the lightest backpack I own. It's got nice hip pockets, and the hip straps are actually awesome. Some of my favorite hip straps off any pack, which is amazing for an $80 pack. This pack is just perfect for flat water trips. Throw it in the bottom of your canoe, kayak, whatever, and it's not going to get wet. I mean, I wouldn't really take this on whitewater trips anymore, just because a lot of times my boat's getting completely swamped with water, and then your stuff might get a little bit wet because it's not perfect. And that's where a barrel comes in. If you haven't seen my video on dry bags versus barrels, go check that out. Super old video, but I think there was some useful stuff in there. And this bag, a little bit different than most of my bags. It's just a huge empty bag. And the only thing really in there is a little pocket that holds hardly anything. I don't even really understand the point of it, but I used to use it for portable battery pack. It's also got these handy little bungees on the outside. They'll let you throw stuff on. I like to throw wet gear on the outside of it to dry it out. I'm paddling around, I can just leave that sitting in the sun upright in the bottom of my canoe and let it dry out. So it's great for wet clothes or a wet tarp. I tend to either look for backpacks with something like that on the front of them or modify the pack to have that kind of feature on them, as you'll see later in the video. The next pack I want to talk about was my first true hiking backpack. It's getting a little beat up nowadays, but it's still a great overnight pack sort of size if you're just going out for one night, say, and you're fairly minimal on your gear, let me say that, because it's only a 40-liter pack, but it's a pretty nice pack. I've done some fun stuff with it. It's a little heavier on the compartments than I usually like because I hate how that adds weight, and usually all my gear's fine stuck together. I just want 2 or 3 pouches, preferably hip pockets and maybe one on the top, and that's all I really need. But some people like to be super organized, so consider that. If you're one of those OCD kind of people and you want a million pouches to keep everything in its own little space, keep that in mind when you're picking out a pack. I mean, it's going to add a little bit of weight, but completely up to you. So this one has a nice big long pocket on the front, zippers, and I usually use that pocket for my hatchet and my saws, stuff like that, if I'm bringing a saw, which I don't usually. If you haven't seen my video on how to process firewood without a saw, go check that out. And then it's got some sort of weird shaped pockets on the side that I put like headlamp and stuff like that in. Got another one on this side. It also has pouches, finally, that are big enough to hold a Nalgene, which is kind of a nice feature. I mean, they don't hold it the greatest. They should be a little bit deeper, but it does have a slot inside for a hydration pack. This pack, we also get into the territory of having a little opening in the bottom that you can get at stuff in the bottom of your pack without having to pull everything out of it. I personally don't use that feature very much. I mean, all the stuff at the bottom of my pack is typically the stuff that I don't need until we're setting up camp. If I did use it, it would probably be the tarp stuffed in the very bottom, and I get quick access to a tarp if it starts pouring rain or something and we want to make quick camp and get a dry spot. And the last pouch it has is just on the top. which is fairly typical for most. That holds stuff you need quick access to. A little zipper here, and another compartment inside. It's about as many pouches as I would ever want on a pack because I can feel the weight difference between this and the next pack I'm going to show you. It's a heavier pack, yet it's a smaller size. So it doesn't really make sense to me, and personally I don't think you need all those compartments. But it does have great cushion on the shoulder straps, which is really nice, and I actually like this pack for that. Even my 50-liter Osprey pack doesn't have as nice a straps as this cheap North Face pack. And the hip straps are pretty good too, nice and wide, bear the weight down, because that's really where you want the weight going in your pack, is on your hips, and minimize the weight going onto your shoulders. Unfortunately, no hip pockets on this one, which is something I honestly really like. Also no height adjustment as far as your shoulder straps goes. Not a big problem, it just might limit you sharing the pack with other people. If you have a bit of a height adjustment in your shoulder straps, then you can possibly throw that pack to another person that's a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller than you, and they just need to adjust the shoulder straps to get it sitting right on their hips and holding everything properly. So that's the pack you're probably going to want to start out with if you're minimalist like me. It's gonna carry enough gear for an overnight trip, or possibly if you stuff it to the absolute brim, it's gonna get you through a multi-day trip. I'm not bringing an 8-person tent. My glamping days are long behind me at this point. I haven't glamped in years. The next pack I want to talk about is a little bit more heavy duty, hardcore, and not for the faint of heart. Great if you're doing canoe trips, especially whitewater trips. I personally love barrels at this point. They're definitely heavier than a traditional dry bag, but they will keep your gear wet in the worst scenarios. I mean, I've had my barrels go down rapids after I swam out of the canoe and open it up when I get to camp. Everything is bone dry, or at least as dry as it was when I put it in there. They're pretty much the ultimate way to keep your gear dry because of the lid. What I like to do is buy the adjustable harnesses, which have a secondary strap, as you can see here, on them, and that lets you throw either a 30 or a 60 in them. And this is the level 6 badass or badass hoss harness, something like that. Obviously it's just one compartment, and all you really have other than that is these little pouches on the side, which will hold a Nalgene with the 30-liter, but once I throw the 60 in, those pouches are gone and you have absolutely no storage on the side. So a thing to consider is clipping your Nalgene to it with a carabiner, or I think they make pouches that you can add to the side of the barrels. You can also buy storage containers for the inside that are round. I actually have a cooler that's round and fits in the barrel pretty well. It's got a few handles and stuff like that, depending on how you're grabbing it out of the canoe. Those can be handy. Like I said, they're heavy, so lifting them out of a canoe on an awkward portage is not always a good time. So look for handles on the outside of it if you're using it for canoe trips. They're going to come in handy. Handy handles. But it's got all the usual adjustments and a lot of the same features as you would see on a typical hiking pack. It's got really nice hip straps, I'll say that. It's also got your usual chest straps. My one complaint is this one has very little adjustability in the chest strap, but it does have extra clips and stuff like that that you can put a carabiner on, clip your bottle to the outside of it. You know, the only complaint that I've heard from people is that barrels are no fun because everything just falls to the bottom. So it's nice to have your stuff inside of it in color-coded stuff sacks and that, so it's super easy to find because that's always a problem. I know with hiking packs, stuff doesn't want to fall to the bottom as much. The last pack I want to talk about is my newest pack. It's also probably my biggest hiking pack that I own, and that's my new Osprey Rook 50, and it's probably the first nice specialty hiking backpack I've owned. It's still not super nice. I looked at more expensive ones and I just hated all the pouches, hated the weight of them. It's simple enough. It's got pouches on the side that hold a nice size Nalgene or whatever you're keeping your water in. It's also got nice big hip pockets that can hold a headlamp, your rain jacket just for quick easy access on the trail. And then what I did like about it is that it had little rings that I knew I could customize it with. So anybody that knows me knows I love bungee. If you haven't seen my video for tarp setup for dummies, go check that out. Bungee makes quick and easy tarp setup, I'll tell you that. So all I did was add bungee to the little loops and little S-beaners to set it up like my dry bag that I just showed you. So I can stuff wet gear into it to dry out when I'm hiking. And that's just great because you can stuff it and it'll just stretch and conform but still hold stuff tight to the pack. It's got a little pouch on the top, but it's just one big compartment unlike my North Face pack. One thing I will say is I don't like zippers if you're going to be doing winter stuff with it. They get caked with ice and frozen, and ideally I just love drawstring tops like this. Just tighten up, and then you don't have to worry about ice so much. The shoulder straps, the padding is kind of minimal. I would say it's about the same as my dry bag, but that's also what keeps the weight down on the pack, which is kind of one of my main things. Another feature I really liked about this pack was this space that they give you between your back and the pack. And that's just going to keep your back from getting super sweaty over a day of hiking. Kind of a luxury thing, but it's always nice to not have a soaked t-shirt on one side at the end of the day. Also, I really like the adjustment system that Osprey puts in their packs. You can just pull this little thingy out here, and that lets you raise it or lower it. So if you're loaning your pack to somebody else on occasion, they can just quickly adjust it to the height that they need and make it comfortable, and that's when adjustability is key. To me, this kind of pack is ideal for going out on multi-day trips if you're minimal. If you're not minimal, you're just getting started, you don't have all the high-end lightweight gear, I'd recommend stepping up to a 65 or a 70 liter pack. Hope this helps you guys out. Like and subscribe for more camping tips and tricks and adventures. Now get out there for some adventures of your own. They're waiting for you.